My name is Alan Lee, and I wanted to introduce myself. I just met one of our teachers, and she told me a story about being at an event that I was at, and her husband pointed me out and said, "I know that guy," and she said, "Well, who is that?" And he said, "That's your boss." So just in case, I'm Alan Lee, I'm the superintendent, and I really apologize to any of you who have not met me or we haven't had a chance to talk. But I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for you coming out today. As I was coming in, somebody said to me that you all are Baptists, and you know, I thought Methodist, and then somebody corrected me and said, "No, we're Lutheran." So I guess it runs across the gamut. Everybody sits in the back, and that's okay. I called Terry Wilhite before I got here. How many of you have seen the movie The Blues Brothers? Anybody? Got a number of you. Anybody seen the Blues Brothers more than 4 times? Okay, there are a few of us. I don't know how many times I've seen it, but as I'm speeding, trying to get here and thinking about somebody's husband maybe being on the road or somebody's wife in a deputy's uniform, I'm thinking I may not make it. And I thought back to the Blues Brothers music, where the Blues Brothers are trying to get to the big forum to do their performance, and they're late. And if you'll remember, Cab Calloway, a very famous old-time blues singer, comes out on the stage and he sings Minnie the Moocher. I called Terry. I said, "Terry, you know the words to Minnie the Moocher?" And he said he did not, but he'd do his best. But fortunately, I didn't get here too late. But let me get started on talking to you about a very, very important issue. An issue that impacts our schools, that impacts each of us, but more importantly, impacts 28,000 plus students. 28,000 plus students. I looked at statistics the other day, and between February of 2010 and February of 2011 and February of 2012, we actually added about 1,100 students in this county. Dr. Lawrence, how many students have you got here? How many? Okay, we almost added a Foley Elementary last year across this county. So I want to talk to you about funding, and I've been doing eye checks back there. Everybody said that they in fact could see, to read, and I want to start out by giving you some of the history. If you look at where we were in 2012, 2008, we had $376 million in our budget. That was just 4 years ago. Today we're at $268 million. We're operating today with $81 million less annually than we had in 2008. 81 million less. And if it were not for the 1-cent sales tax, which brings in $26.7 million, we'd be at $108 million less. The 1-cent sales tax expires in May of 2013. So we are right now about 13 months away from that sales tax expiring. Expenditures per student. In 2008, we were at $14,462 per student. Today, we're spending $9,674. And I would tell you that that includes buildings, the capital expenses that we've made on buildings, facilities, and any long-term purchases. To give you perspective, in the United States in 2010, the average expenditure per pupil was $13,835. In Alabama, it was $8,825, and in Baldwin County, it was $8,255. If we look just at core expenditures, in other words, if we don't include the money being spent on buildings, and we're paying debt service, we aren't building buildings now, but we're paying debt on the buildings that we build. Statewide expenditures in 2010 were at $7,998, roughly $8,000 per student. In Baldwin County, we were at $7,550, $448 less per student than the average in Alabama. Not less than the top, not less than the districts that we think we're as good as, but less than the average in Alabama. If we were to have the same amount of expenditure per student on the average in Alabama, it would generate roughly $13 million more. And with $13 million more, I could begin to do some things like reinstate raises, add some custodial staff and some kitchen staff, and more than that, add some teachers to classrooms, to lower class size. So that's just a perspective for you. If we were only at the average, we had $13 million more to work with. If we look at Mills equivalency, Baldwin County schools are 92nd in the state out of 132 school districts. 92nd out of the whole state in Mills equivalency. And I'll talk a little bit about Mills equivalency later. So how are we operating with $81 million less than we had 4 years ago? What's occurred? Many of these things you're going to be very much aware of. First of all, school construction is stalled. Yes, we added 1,100 students over the last year, but we haven't built any new schools. Suella Brazil's gone out and she's doing an assessment of where we need portables, which is not a good alternative, but we've got to house kids. We eliminated 541 positions since that time. Most recently, I eliminated an assistant superintendent's position and also a supervisor's position, or a coordinator's position, actually, in instruction. What I'm trying to do is push resources into the classroom and not have it being central office located. But 541 positions, 541 fewer people than we had 4 years ago, and we probably got 4,000 or 5,000 more kids than we have now. So if you wonder why your class sizes are larger, you now know. We've eliminated 85 central office positions, and those were included in the 541. But I wanted you to be aware that it's not just in schools that we've eliminated positions. We've eliminated 16.5 assistant principal positions. Every place that I've gone, I've heard that schools don't spend money wisely. And so I thought it was important when I got here, when I heard that same thing, that I go to an unbiased source and say, come in and look at us. And so I contacted PARCA, Public Affairs Research Council of Alabama. They do research work for the legislature and for public entities like us. They're nonpartisan, neither Republican or Democrat. They aren't Baptist or religion, or Baptist or Methodist. They're unbiased, and they did research on how we spend our money. Because if I found out we were spending it poorly, I wanted to learn that. And they came in and they did a study. And you can see that study online at PARCA. They're at Samford University in Birmingham. And I'm going to give you some statistics. All the comparative statistics from now on come from PARCA and their conclusions. Every place I've gone, they've said administrators and administrative costs are too high. Let's go back to that concept of average in Alabama. The average expenditure per pupil in Alabama on administrative costs is $350 per year. In Baldwin County, when PARCA did their study, it was $240 per year. Locally funded raises have been frozen. You're all aware of that. Personal leave days have all been reduced. You're aware of that. We're privatizing custodial services at Foley High School next year, because Foley High School was not as clean as I want it to be. My standard for cleanliness is hospital bathroom cleanliness. If we're going to require kids to go to school, if we're going to have you in a building where you work, it needs to be clean. So I'm contracting with a private company to come in and clean Foley High School next year. Does that mean we're going to do that in every building in the county? No. No, because you can go in many of our buildings and see that the people are doing a wonderful job. Part of the problem is the level of staffing in our buildings. But for 1 year, I'm going to take a look at it and see if they can do it for less money and do a better job, so that the kids who go to Foley High School will have a clean environment to go into. We've automated processes and tried to digitize most of our reports. The operating budget's been cut across the board. You all know that. You have fewer resources. We've used technology to replace personnel. We've reduced administrative sites from 3 to 2. We've closed 3 school sites, the most recent of which was the Fairhope K Center. We've eliminated 127 portable units, which is saving us about $500,000 a year right now, but now we're looking to have to put some back. We've reduced our debt payment by $3.5 million annually. We've reduced energy costs by $210,000 a year, and I see more savings in that area. We're working with Schneider Electric right now to come in and help us save more, and I think we can see better savings in the future. In transportation, they adopted a computer program, basically a GPS program that does calculations on where you have to have bus routes. And they've eliminated 20 routes, 20 drivers, 20 buses off the road. We anticipate they'll be able to eliminate more routes. In addition to that, they put technology on each of their trucks so that when a bus breaks down, the truck goes to them and typically they can fix it on the spot rather than having to pay to have it towed back into the bus garage. Park has said in the state of Alabama, $475 per student per year is the average. In Baldwin County, it was $349 per student. In food service, we've economized. The state average is $649 per student. In Baldwin County, $445 per student. And you all know that lunches are going up a quarter next year. It's not because we wanted it to happen. It's because the state government said it had to happen. So I talked to Erin Miller today and asked her where we're going to put that money. We're going to improve the food quality more, and we're also going to try to get some more help into the kitchens where they need it. We've been successful in acquiring grants, about $2 million in federal grants and about $1 million in competitive grants. I expect that to go up, but we're never going to get ourselves out of the hole of grants. So then the question is, well, how do we become a world-class school system? What does it look like? What is it really? Well, digital renaissance is part of that. Recently, I talked with people from all over the United States about digitizing education. And the results are it has amazing impacts. And the high school students across this county this fall, each student will have a laptop computer. A couple of days ago, I was over at Foley High School talking to students in Berkeley Cirilli's class. And the expectation of the computers being in their hands next year was pretty amazing to see. The smiles on their faces. One young man said, I know we're going to learn more because of this. So that needs to spread. It needs to be not only at the high school level, it needs to be in the middle and the elementary school level too. It's costing us $2 million a year for all the high school students in the county. That's about $302 per student, or about 3% of what we spend on their total education, so it's a good investment. The things that have come out of it, Baldwin County High School has been our trial. What we saw there was a reduction in attendance problems. We saw a reduction in behavior problems. But more importantly, what we saw was students feeling like their education had been personalized. I asked the students there last January what had changed. One of the kids looked at me and said, I no longer have to wait to learn. And I bet many of you remember being in the classroom when you had to wait to learn. And students at Foley High School knew exactly what I was talking about. You know, that's when you go home at night and you do the reading, you do the work, you come back the next day and you're ready to go to the next topic. And there are kids in there who haven't done the work and they don't understand. And the hearts of the teachers is to help those kids get caught up. And so you've got kids who are ready to move on, not able to. And the student at Baldwin County High School said, I can learn at my own speed. I can go at my own pace. I can do my work. I can get it done. That personalization of education is what's so important about technology education in the classroom. The other thing it's going to do is reduce dropouts. We know that every dropout costs us at least $300,000 a year, not a year, for their lifetime. I was told a couple of weeks ago this figure should really be $600,000. I haven't found that figure to verify it, but it's a very expensive thing to have a student drop out. The other thing we need to be in world class is we need to have an enhanced career technical education program. Every student needs to leave our schools with at least 2 career technical education programs under their belt, or classes under their belt. Many of you were like me. When you got out of college, maybe didn't get a teaching job right away. You had to do something else. And I was fortunate. I had skills that I picked up on the farm and skills that I picked up in college, working my way through college. First 5 jobs I had after college were not related to my degree. Every kid doesn't have that opportunity. That's why we need to have career and technical education programs that offer variety, not only in the traditional programs, the welding and auto mechanics and HVAC and cosmetology and all of those, but we also need to be in nursing. We need to be in the health sciences and other areas, not just nursing. We need to have kids able to take high-tech, career tech programs so they can go to work in good industry jobs when they get out, if that's what they choose. But that's the bottom line. They ought to have a choice. And every child ought to have a choice when they graduate from our schools to make that decision about college or working out in the field someplace. We also need to have foreign language, K through 12. My plan is to have that in place as soon as we can. As a matter of fact, we're going to be doing a pilot down in the Gulf Shore schools this winter, where they will start learning foreign languages in kindergarten. We'll be using a program called Rosetta Stone. Some of you may have used Rosetta Stone. Anybody in here ever used Rosetta Stone? They have a curriculum that goes all the way down to the 5th grade, all the way down to 5-year-olds, kindergartners. With Rosetta Stone, they have a choice of 37 different languages to learn. If they start in kindergarten, by the time they get to the 8th graders, they will be fluent in the language. And those of you who are high school language teachers, foreign language teachers, imagine a student walking into your classroom that's been studying the language for 7 years. Imagine how that would help you. And why do we need foreign languages? Well, look at the job market. Look at the people who are out there that need to communicate with us. Look at how much more aware people are and more able to get jobs around the world when they can speak foreign language. So that's real important for us to get in place. Next thing we need to do is we need to reinstate and enrich our electives that are available in our high schools. They've lost a lot of electives. My opinion is they need to have electives in science, a rich selection of science electives, in technology, in pre-engineering, in the arts. I can't imagine a high school without a drama program, a high school without a chorus program, a high school without a dance program. Those are the kinds of programs that keep kids involved in school, just like athletics does. And we need those programs back. We also need to attract and hire the best staff members. And in order to do that, we've got to have a competitive salary schedule, and we've got to have a good benefits package. And it's got to be better than Satsuma or any place in this region. It's got to be better than any place somebody can go. And that's what I want for all of you. And then we accept nothing less than excellence every day in every classroom. So where are the challenges to doing this? Well, one challenge is the federal jobs bill money is going away this fall. $3.2 million. But your board, at their last meeting, voted to pick up that money and those costs so that nobody loses their job this year because the jobs bill money went away. They're going to pay for those positions. As you can see, if you can read it from back there, there are about 65 positions involved in that. And I'm really grateful to the board because it means that our kids aren't going to get hurt by jobs bill money going away this year. Then the 1-cent sales tax ends on May 2013. That supports 350 jobs right now, teachers mostly. And I'll be frank with you, if we get to the point of having to reduce, it's probably going to be mostly teachers because we're about as low as we can go in bus drivers, custodians, and people in the offices. So what do we want to be? Second class or world class? I would submit to you we shouldn't want to be anything but world class. We should want to be the best we can be. We should want to have the best opportunities for the children of the Foley feeder pattern. Whether they live out in Alberta or they live over in the Magnolia area, they all need good programs. They need to have a future, and the education and what you do with them every day will provide that future, but it needs to be world class. Like you, when this downturn started, and I know in your households you've seen reduced revenue. If it isn't salary, it's because benefits cost you more than they did before. Gas costs you more. Everything costs you more. You saw reduced revenue, so did we. And like you, we did everything we could. We tried to get efficient. We tried to be smart. And I'm trying to develop some partnerships right now that I hope will pay off for us in the future. When I first came to Baldwin County, the first week I was here, I got a request from Dr. Craig Pouncey. He's the Assistant Superintendent of Finance for our state. He wanted to meet with me, so the first week I'm meeting with him. And he spent time telling me where we'd gone wrong and how we spent our money in the past, and how his expectation was that that would change. And that was a pretty humbling meeting with the state assistant superintendent the first week, to have him tell me that, we were really off base. The last time I talked with Craig, he said a certain school district is in financial difficulty right now, and they wanted to know what to do. And I told them what they need to do is contact Baldwin County and find out what you all did. We are now a model for efficiency in this state, and you all have helped make that possible. We also are well known across the nation right now for the innovation that's taking place, not just in digital renaissance, but in some of the things I've seen in your classrooms and the way you teachers are using technology in creative ways, and the eMints program. I was in a kindergarten class here, has it been 2 months ago, Bill, or a month ago? About 1 month ago. And I saw what all kindergarten kids are doing in technology. It's amazing to me. And you guys are getting a name for yourselves in Baldwin County by what you're doing in that realm. So, what's sufficient funding to become a world-class school system? Do we need to be higher than any place in this whole state? No, we don't. I'm thinking if we're someplace under the national average, we'd be fine. If you go back to the expenditure per pupil, look at where we are. We don't have a whole lot to do to get to be a world-class school system because we're spending our money right. When we talk about mills of taxation, that's on property. And there are different amounts of taxation on property across the state. A mill is 1/1000th of a dollar, or 1/10 of a penny. And what they do is the counties and the cities, they establish what the value of your property is, and they say that's the value, and then it gets taxed at that rate, whatever the millage rate is. In Hoover, they collect 59.3 mills. In Mountain Brook, 52.9. Vestavia, 48.9. Trussville, 30.1. Shelby, 30. Huntsville, 27.5. Escambia, 22. Mobile County, 24.5. And Baldwin County, 12. 12. Let's talk mills equivalent. If we take all of the taxation that's available, sales tax, property tax, any other taxes, there's a beer tax, did you know that? I mean, they tax a lot of different things, but if we take all the revenue that comes from taxation and we divide it by the value of the mills that a mill is worth in a county or a city, it gives you a mill's equivalent. In other words, you get enough tax that, for instance, in Saraland, they would be taxing 111 mills, and that's how much money they would raise in Saraland. In Enterprise, it's 78, Vestavia, 52, Mountain Brook, 50, Hoover, 45, Madison, 42, Tuscaloosa City, 39.76, Auburn, 39, Jefferson, 33, Mobile, 30, Baldwin County, 23.91. The Alabama average mills equivalency is 34.202, and Baldwin County is 23.91. We know from a lot of research that there's a clear-cut connection between how much you spend on schools and how much property in your county is worth. If you have good schools, the value of your own property goes up. If you spend money on schools, the value of the property goes up. And if you're a realtor, anybody married to a realtor in here? I won't put you on the spot, but I'll guarantee you that if I were to ask them, one of the things they would tell me if I said, what's the most common question your husband or wife hear? What are the schools like? Which are the good schools? Where should I buy my house? That's what they want to know. When I was in Virginia, there was a major automobile company that was looking to move to our county. And the people from Austria came and they wanted to meet with local people. You know who they wanted to meet with? School people. They didn't want to meet with everybody in the government. They wanted to meet with the school people to talk to us about what our schools were like. So we have a vested interest in making sure that our schools are funded properly and that they're outstanding. And you know as well as I do, to go into a grocery store and deal with somebody that hasn't had a very good education is one of the most frustrating things you can do. And how good do you feel when somebody comes to your aid, driving a cruiser or a tow truck or whatever it is, and they have had a good education? Imagine what it's like to live someplace where we don't have people with good educations. So, what happens when that jobs bill money goes away? And it will go away next year. Well, what happens when the 1-cent sales tax goes away? We're going to lose over 420 positions. Worse than that, we lose the vision for what world-class schools are. And I don't want to see that happen. I think we need a school system that's not only smart, but it's outstanding in what it provides. During Yes You Can, people said we want accountability. This Parker report is part of that accountability. People said they wanted transparency. This presentation is part of that transparency. People ask for world-class schools. I would submit to you we are already on our way to world-class schools. I hope that you'll join me in the coming months to secure reliable, ongoing financing for our schools that allows us to become a world-class school system. Thank you very much for your patience. I'm sorry we're running late, but I appreciate you being here. If you have any questions, thank you.